Welcome to Inspiration. This is a new series. What are we calling this? Conversations with Dad.
Okay.
So now on the occasion of Navratri, we're sitting here in Denver, Colorado, and Dad is giving me some some knowledge.
It is not advice. These are thoughts.
Thoughts, contemplations.
I was contemplating this.
The whole thing about all this. You said Lalita, Ambike, and Lakshmi, and all that. These are nomenclatures, and names are required for smaller minds and smaller abilities to identify. If there is some concept, you have to identify that concept. You give it a name. If a concept called gravity, you have to give it a name called gravity. Then only you know what you are referring to. When I converse with you or refer to it.
Correct.
So also, the whole concept here is that of power.
Correct. Energy, more than power. Power is a form. Power is the application of
Hold
energy.
on. The energy is one form of power. Power is what? Money power is here, physical power is here, mental power is here, spiritual power is here, various kinds of powers. And all these powers are the things which drive man to achieve more. Everyone wants more power. Somebody wants more money. Somebody wants more physical power. Like that.
On the concept, I've also understood without anyone telling me where. So you've got Shakti, you've got Lakshmi, you've got Saraswati. So people strive either for power, which is Shakti, or
they want wealth.
Or wealth, which is Lakshmi, or knowledge.
Learn knowledge, which
and
is
they
Saraswati.
use any of these to attain success in life.
Yes.
Right.
So this is where the entire concept of our Sanatana Dharma is so highly placed and developed. They go to that point where it starts with Shakti. So a person wants to have Shakti for what? These are
The porch reminds me of your buffalo houses.
These are the four Purusharthas. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So they have conceptualized at that level that a person, a being who has become a human embodiment has these four goals in life. He should strive to take his entire thing, his Atma towards these goals. So there has to be a balance between these, otherwise you become frustrated.
Correct. If you want too much material power or too much material wealth or too much material knowledge, then achieving your success is also going to be impeded.
Yes. And the whole thing has been so conceived that it is the individual striving to raise himself. And in that same process, he is helping society also to benefit, to be stable and to grow. It is not enough that one man goes on top of the mountain and becomes a great saint.
You have so many of these people that are striving to gain enlightenment or meditate and all that, but they aren't benefiting society per se. They are on a mission to individually
I must reach the top. I'll push you down and go up. That sort of
not even. It's just individual. Like you have told me before that Hinduism's, it's all about attaining a union of the individual soul with the super soul.
Paramatma,
So it's ultimately I don't want to say selfish, but it's an individualistic thing. It's up to each person's volition.
That's what I just now clarified. It is selfish in one aspect.
Yeah.
But that selfish effort is beneficial to society.
Correct.
And to the community at large.
Correct. If enough number of people actually gain that sense of individual enlightenment, it lifts society on its own.
Okay, that is one
That's
point.
a side track.
This is one point.
Correct.
Another entirely different point I would like to touch upon is all these anything in the Vedas and in our Puranas and everything are ancient. And Today our technology has advanced so much. Today you can just be walking and talking. I
Correct.
saw that guy talking, gesticulating. I thought, oh, this guy has gone mad.
Yeah, but he was
Then
actually
he was on the
wireless
phone,
call.
yes, with somebody, and he was very violently
Yeah.
arguing with that guy.
Yeah.
So you see, the guy said, "This madman, what is he doing all these gestures for all by himself?" So that is today's technology. In ancient times, they had a technology we don't know what they had. So all these things which you see as the puja and the
They're all
homam,
forms of technology which we don't understand.
yes, they
Correct.
are forms of technology which we do not know about. We
So
have the faintest
that's
of
a good
ideas.
point. But coming back to Navratri, I was explaining to a Bengali person, a Bangladeshi Bengali,
Yeah.
in my neighborhood, and I had seen him put a poster for Navratri, and I had assumed that most Bangladeshis living in my neighborhood were Muslim. But this guy had he was celebrating Navratri and had a poster for the celebration. So I started chatting, and it was a healthy discussion between him and his other co-worker, who was asking more about, oh, why you celebrate Navratri. He was obviously a Bangladeshi mainstream Muslim, but he was very curious. So both of us were explaining, I was trying to explain, saying that you see how science and technology has made so much progress now. And the assumption is that we have this science and technology only now. But in the past, at least in the ancient Hindu culture, we had this, the science remains the same. Maybe the technology was different,
Yeah.
right? So the different 9 days of Shakti are dedicated to 9 different forms of energy.
Yeah.
Ilya?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the 9 different Shaktis, 9
Yeah.
different forms of energy.
Yeah.
So just like how today you have sound energy, you've got vibrational energy, gravitational energy,
Yeah.
you've got light energy, right? But then it's so simplistic in our modern understanding.
Yeah.
Even today,
Yes.
the science that you and me talk about is based on Newtonian physics,
Yes.
which is completely is not how quantum physics works. Quantum physics throws Newtonian physics by the wayside. No common person who's not a physicist understands quantum physics,
Yeah.
because that's just the physics of numbers
Yeah.
and calculus and stuff,
Yeah.
which is very difficult to comprehend. It's theoretical.
Exactly.
So in Hinduism, especially with the Shakti worship, it's putting it in a practical format so that people can understand it.
They may not even understand.
They may not understand it, but they can use
practice.
they can use the technology. It's
because
like,
certain rituals and procedures and
correct.
etc.
It's
laid
like
down.
you said about the cell phone.
Yeah.
All of us have cell phones. We all use it every day. We don't know how the
Yeah.
cell phone works.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? Same
Yeah.
thing with the puja, same
Yeah.
thing with the ritual,
Exactly,
or
exactly.
even the different forms of Shakti that have been devised are manifestations of different forms of energy.
Correct. Okay. Now.
Which we are able to utilize if we do the right thing.
Yes. Now, take your mind to the other aspect of it. The gross power and the finer power, the more fine, the minute. So the gross is always less powerful than the minute, and the like the electric this thing and that the micro. It is much faster, much speed, everything. More volume, more speed, everything. So, in all our things, we have got this. They do the yaga. They have got the
Yagna, you mean?
Yajnam Banwa. Yajnam Banwa, so they have to do all that, and they have a fire, and then they offer things to that.
It's ultimately channeling the energy that is existing around us.
Hold on, I'm coming to the point where the fine means of communication, even more fine than what you have in your cell phone or in your whatever is the latest, finest form of communication or energy transmission. Much finer than that was what they had.
Correct.
because
Correct. We haven't yet got to that level.
What they had was they would offer various things into the fire. And fire is Agni. What you are throwing into the fire is Havis, the oblation. Agni is called Havya Vahana. He is the one who carries the offerings to the gods. So what you are offering is converted from material, some grain or some gold or some cloth or anything, into dust and smoke, and in that very fine thing is carried to the gods. That is the concept.
Well, it's also breaking down to the most subtle form of matter, right?
Correct. That subtle thing.
So you have something solid, which is physical earth.
Correct.
You put it, you use the fire element to break it down to something so minute it becomes ether.
It becomes so subtle.
Yeah.
The more subtle it becomes, the more powerful and more capable it becomes. So that form of communication is what they had perfected. If so and so did that yajna and he got this benefit. And so also in so many places in our Puranas, he went and prayed for so many years.
Correct.
You are learning our technology, you spend time learning it. So that learning, then perfection, then you utilize it. That is how you get communication.
Correct.
Like Mahavishnu in the Kshetra or Brahma there, and Shiva gave the benefit.
And then one thing, I guess this is a conversation for a separate talk, is that the mistake people make is they think they have this arrogance about them, where they think that they are in living in a superior technological world, where everything right now is how it should be, and they don't understand that, this is just a material plane. This is the gross, like you said, this is the gross, where you've got the different elements which are in decreasing level of grossness. And the most subtle element is not even perceptible to a person who's living on this gross plane.
Correct.
It's like using a microscope.
So,
one example I just want to make is you can look at a surface just with your eye and just look at it as a piece of wood. But then you use a microscope and you'll see teeming life forms, microorganisms. And you use an electron microscope and now you're going to see those individual atoms of the wood. Right? So that's the decreasing levels of grossness. We are living on this plane where all we see and take for granted is
the gross.
Which is the piece of wood. We are not even opening ourselves to the possibility that we can look at those wood cells and look further at the individual atoms.
We have at least come to the stage where we are aware that there is a subtle thing inside that gross thing. This is why so many years ago when we were watching Matrix, there is no spoon.
There's no spoon.
That is one thing in my head. They exactly hit the nail on the head. There is no spoon is exactly what this. You always look at the spoon, but there is no spoon. And it has been scientifically established and accepted today.
Correct.
So
fine, we'll leave that for a separate conversation. We don't want to keep.
Hold on,
we want to focus on Shakti and Navratri today.
And I want to talk about this thing only. This whole concept of the gross and the subtle is the concept on which everything is established. And including the human being. If the person dies, his gross body dies and is burnt, but his subtle body transmigrates.
Correct.
And that subtle body carries certain things with it, which makes him, it is pre-programmed because he has done whatever in the earlier
prarabdham. This is what they say of you've got different levels. So you've got the physical memory, you've got the genetic memory, then the more subtle forms are the karmic memory, then the what is it, even more subtle than karmic memory is your manifest vasanas, which are your I forget the names. In yoga they call it inanimate, animate memory, something.
So these names are not important. Names are only used to indicate, to help you to identify and to recognize some things. So the substance is that they have conceived of the gross and the finer and finer and finer, the subtle, very certain subtlest of things. And God in his best form is so subtle nobody can see him. They say Vishnu has got 1,000 heads, Adishesha has 1,000 heads and these things, Sahasra, all that. And they draw the picture with so many heads hanging all over the place, which is a very stupid way of doing it, because these are not physical heads.
But when they did it, they had to communicate to the people
Yes,
who were not.
It is to communicate some idea of it.
Yeah.
So that is why now today all the other people, they make fun of it, because how one person can have 3 heads and 5 heads. It is the concept.
The concept that is effectively communicated in that allegory or in that form. Anyway, let's end this conversation now. We'll continue with because we've gone away from our initial topic.
So about the Shakti.
So we'll continue. We'll wrap up about Shakti.
Yes, about the Shakti. Now, Shakti. Shakti, one of the important things you must mention is that Shakti is the all-powerful energy. And Saundarya Lahari, there's a composition by Adi
Shankara.
He starts with this. Shiva is the most powerful. He can do everything, but he can't even move a little, spandana, just even flicker without Shakti. With Shakti, when he is joined with Shakti, then everything is possible.
So this is all,
and
this is all advanced astrophysics or physics in subatomic physics. Both are the same.
I would like to bring in how our ancient people had a cosmic concept of it. I told you how this subtle thing from the puja to the human reincarnation, the same concept. So also in this, your language. How is your language? Shiva is the
matter.
Is the language.
Oh,
but without Shakti, you can't use language. Shiva is k, ch, t, t, p, the consonant.
Yeah.
The a, e, u, the vowel.
It's like what the Chinese or the Taoists have, yin and yang, Madhuri.
So, the consonant is useless without the vowel. That is Shiva and Shakti. The same concept, you see, it is one holistic concept which applies to everything.
But I like to look at, see, E is equal to mc square, which Einstein, just to dumb it down or to make it more accessible to everyday people. So E is equal to mc square, which is a direct relationship of energy is equal to mass times speed of light.
Yes.
To square of speed of light. So E is energy. Energy is directly proportional to mass.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which means energy, mass can be converted to energy, and there is some relationship between energy and mass.
Yes.
So Shakti is energy.
Yes.
Shiva is the actual physical action using that energy. Right?
Okay.
So I've always understood it, or I have in my mind, it may be a very simplistic understanding, but in my mind it's that Shiva and Shakti are ultimately related concepts which work together. The mass and the energy. Mass requires the energy to work, and for energy even to be used, you need to have that mass. You need to have that physicality.
Agreed, yes.
So that's how I've understood. Anyway, let's end the conversation.
So this Navratri thing, in the cosmic calendar, they always come up special occasions when certain things are very propitious.
Correct. This has to do with the moon and the timing of the the season.
This period is very auspicious for Hindus. If you see, the Jews have the same,
Rosh Hashanah,
thing,
Yom
Kippur, those things.
Even the Muslims have something. One of my Muslim friends was celebrating something today.
So these are auspicious positionings of the various stellar things and planets or whatever, which they had figured out.
And this whole relationship with Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, I have found it very interesting. It changes from year to year, but that's because each calendar is different and it's extrapolation, right? From when the calendar was created, and the people of today make mistakes. But there's still years, like last year, exact 9-10 day period was Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and the Ram Navami in the spring also was the same time period. So there is it's the astronomical significance, right?
So-
Which all religions have, but then most religions have lost. But
So-
for us, it's so part of our culture
Yes.
that
So-
we are able to do it,
Mm.
religiously, quite literally,
so-
without having lost or diluted
So,
it.
so the whole concept of it, the science of it, everything is so vague and difficult for
It's
a
difficult,
common man
yes.
to understand, to grasp, to memorize, to carry forward. So those ancient rishis, they put it down into
So
sounds.
I think the beauty of Hinduism is not separating it as a religion per se.
Yeah,
It's
never
not
had
a religion. It is the culture of India.
So-
And because it's the culture of India, it is so part and parcel of our
Yeah.
everyday activity. It is the way of life of us, which means that every day we wake up and we have some festival because there is something
Yes.
significant about that day, and it's so part and parcel of our culture. Whether the person converts to Christianity or converts to Islam, it's still part of their everyday life.
Yeah. Those things will
Or
not
if they are
change.
irreligious, it's still part of their everyday life.
Those things are the same. They affect him same way, whether he is a Christian or a Hindu or a Muslim or whatever.
Yeah.
So if he is in sync with that, he could use it to his own benefit.
Correct.
And the benefit again, the time spans are eons.
Yeah.
Such vast time spans which nobody could even imagine.
So the
during
beauty
that.
is in almost the not dumbing down, but making it accessible to the everyday person and making it so that it's part of their everyday life, where they don't need to bother with the ultimate meaning of what they are doing. It's just
Exactly.
a part and parcel of their life, and in doing what they are doing, they see the benefit of it, so they continue. The reward is in doing it.
Yeah.
The
So-
result comes, the result is the reward, so they keep doing it. It's a self fulfilling
So-
thing.
It is not as if you have to study this. Yeah.
Only because you do this. It's not because of
No.
that. The result
It
is the reward, and because of that, you keep doing it, and that makes you to keep doing
and
it.
knowing that human beings are different. Some are more this aspect,
And
some
then-
in other aspect.
And the other important thing is also not that the deep science or philosophy or meaning behind it is lost. It's all there. It's there if you want to dig deeper.
Yes.
It's never been lost.
It is there.
It's always there.
It is there only if you
If
have
you are
developed
interested,
if
yeah.
you have developed your capability to understand it. Now, if you put some very complicated code, I can't even understand what that code is.
Yeah.
So what they did is they did all that coding, and then you just have to press the button. You
Correct.
Get the
It's like
answer.
use of your cell phone. You don't have to
So-
know what the back end is.
So they made it so easy for the common man. Common man uses, if any sweeper woman is using a cell phone and talking to her son or husband or somebody, that you have to pay that man that money. She doesn't know how it works and all that, but it is working.
Yeah.
So also Hinduism converted all these very complicated principles, theories and fundamentals into practical applications.
Which you can do consistently and
Yes.
effectively.
So that has been going on for ages until these disruptive forces
This
came
last
during
1,000 years.
Last 1-2,000
Which again
years.
is a conversation for a different day.
So 1 or 2,000 years
It's okay,
there has been
that's-
such a disruptive
But
force.
Eli, but the point I want to make is it's been done so the making it a part of our everyday life has been so effective.
Yeah.
5,000 years of stuff, even with the dumbing down of civilization,
Yeah.
we still haven't lost it. We may have lost access to the understanding of why we are doing it.
Yeah.
Not lost. The common man may have forgotten why they are doing it, but they are still doing it. So that now with people becoming more, first of all, Indian society is coming to a stage where people are able to ask these questions. People are able to go look without having to worry about their everyday next meal.
Yeah.
Right? So they have the mental bandwidth to look deeper into their own practices, and the answers are right there. It's not like it was ever lost, right? It's just now they have the time, they have the energy, they have the bandwidth, and you see a mass resurgence in an understanding as to why we are doing it. So it was always there. It's just mentally we were not in a state to understand it. Now we are. So that's also the reason why we are putting this video series together.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in this sort of thing, follow this page in Inspiration. And this series we are calling Contemplations with Dad or Conversations with Dad. I haven't yet decided. But this is the first episode of many to come. And these are general conversations where we start with a particular topic and then move on to other things. It's unedited, and it doesn't try to push any buttons, but it tries to give a better understanding to what it really is that we are doing. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.